name is Hannes Baumgartner. I'm co-founder and CEO of Naos Ventures. We co-found and run companies with digital business models by combining our internal talents, so people that work for us, with external partners, so people that we work for mostly.
My name is Christopher and I am co-founder and CEO of Spotswise.com. Spotswise is a professional network for athletes and people that are professionals in the sports environment. So our goal is to bring sports people closer together and give them the opportunity to present themselves, showcase their sports careers. My personal experience is more from a business consulting background, and after that I was in project management and in sports events management. So Spotswise is trying to help people showcase a career in sports, because most of the other professional networks that are on the internet focus on traditional CVs. So what we do is most of these people have let's say awkward CVs. They have an internship here, they have been volunteering there. So we try to give them the opportunity to pour that into a professional basis, into a professional layout, and present themselves as they are, sports people. And then they can present their co-athletes, their team members, they can communicate with them, they can find their coaches, they can present their coaches, and they can also raise visibility for their sponsors.
My name is Lukas. I'm the founder of Bärnstein. We're the first beverage with green coffee inside. Green coffee is an unroasted coffee bean. Basically, it's very healthy for your inner system, for your stamina, for your body. And we want to convey the picture of Austria's tastiest drink with green coffee. So it should be your personal moment of power, so to say.
I think there are quite a few factors. A lot of successful entrepreneurs that did it their own way, and they might vary quite a bit. So I don't think there's one blueprint that you could do it. I think there are a few things that most people have in common, though. One I would name is just hustle, being willing to do instead of talking, and instead of planning, actually going out and doing stuff. Another one would be vision, so seeing a future that's not there yet, and knowing where you want to go, and actually having that picture in your mind that you gravitate towards. Then I think as you go towards that goal, you have to be somewhat effective. So you have to work on the right things. Instead of being just busy, you have to do things that actually move you towards your goal. And I think last one would probably be being flexible in a way. So if stuff comes up that you didn't actually think of, or that comes unexpectedly, you have to be able to change course and adapt.
It highly depends on what do you define as startup success. So are you trying to find an investor as soon as possible and just make it big and sell it as soon as possible? Or are you trying to make this company a company that can be in business for years to come? And I think what matters most is to have your goals in place. Be sure what you want to achieve and never lose track of the bigger goal that you have. So right from the beginning, you should set up all your systems and you should set up your workflows in a way that gives you the opportunity to build onto that foundation for years to come.
In my opinion, it's a team. When you have a strong team, it really indicates a strong, is a catalyst for a strong success factor as well. In my opinion, startups and a strong team are very strongly associated. A startup and a strong team, they have so much things in common because the team is actually the startup. It's like you're having a kind of a mask, which is your startup, which is the name of your startup, and you're the strong system behind. And coming back to your question, it's definitely the team.
So I'm local rep for Lower Austria, which brings a very unique set of problems, I think. First of all, it's very fragmented. So it's very split up into different hubs. So there's the south of Vienna with Neustadt and Baden. There's Krems, there's St. Pölten, there's Amstetten, and it's the distances are quite long, so it's not as easy to get everybody on one page as maybe in some smaller states. The other reason is that Vienna is basically smack dead in the middle of it, so it's really hard to compete with Vienna. On the other hand, it might be a positive. So a lot of people that live in St. Pölten, for example, study in Vienna and then move back. So you have great university education very close. On the plus side, I think a little bit outside of the cities, there's great education, there's great schools, there's great technical people like in HTLs and some of the FHs and universities. Very good people, so good hardworking people. A lot of them come from entrepreneurial backgrounds too. A little bit of a different entrepreneurial background than what we're talking about, so not tech companies, but a lot of people that live in rural areas have parents, grandparents that had their own companies, that had farms maybe, and there's a good work ethic, I think, in those places. So yeah, I think it's different from Vienna and from bigger cities, but had its pros too.
Our local startup community in the middle of Lower Austria is, let's say, ambiguous. So there are startups, but most of them operate really isolated. There are not really a lot of networks, and also we started really as an isolated project. So I think what we can improve here by far is try to bring people from similar industries closer together, try to make this happen and make an IT hub in the middle of Lower Austria, and try to bring all the stakeholders closer together, not only startup founders, but also people that are interested in startups, people that can help in various ways. So I think that could be improved. I think what is good is there is a lot of creativity floating around. There are people starting projects, but as I said, I think they need to work closer together.
I'm from St. Pölten. Startup community it's for sure not the biggest one here like in Vienna, but what I've seen in St. Pölten is that everybody knows each other. We have our personal numbers from each other. We can call each other. It's like a very strong community here. We are helpful, open-minded guys. We are trying to achieve things together. We are also kind of put on a lot of effort in the governmental municipality involvement, so to say. We are trying to help the city to make it a more startup-friendly space and area for us and for others. And therefore, I think it's this very strongly connected community here, which enables everybody who want to join the startup community in St. Pölten and in the surrounding area in Lower Austria as well, to get along with each other to achieve common goals.
One of the more important tips would be finding people that are like you and constantly exchanging ideas and thoughts, even if they're not finished yet. So not being afraid of having a small group or some people that you actually bounce ideas off, even if they're not ready, which will probably make your ideas better too, and prevent you of doing a lot of stupid things that you shouldn't do. I also think, like for me, when I started out, I tried to emulate the type of entrepreneur that is portrayed in media, and that's one way to do it. But there are lots of other ways to do it. So I don't think you have to fit into a mold. It's much easier to do your own thing and do what you're comfortable with. Because if you just bend over backwards to be some way because you read about it in a blog post or something, it takes a lot of self-confidence to do your own thing and not change from that, but it's worth it. And then I think act quickly and iterate. Don't try to be perfect on the first go. I think it's better to, whatever idea it is you're working on, get it out there and try to iterate instead of just making it perfect in the first try. Because chances are you're not going to make it perfect in the first try anyways.
Get started. I know some people that want to, that have ideas, that want to bring ideas to life, but they just don't start. So try to get it out. Get started, even if you don't really have a concrete plan or if you don't know yet what your finished product will look like. Just get started and sort it out on the way. This is, I think, by far the most important. The second is don't assume that you know everything about business, because you don't and no one knows. All the pros, everyone that is really highly successful, they are all refining in every year. They are trying to get a new approach on the way they look at their business. So try to learn whenever possible and try to like put your ego down and don't assume you know how business works, because in reality no one really knows and we're all just swimming around in this big pond. Believe in yourself.
Also try to keep the spirit up all the time, to motivate others, to bring this, to kind of share the spirit of your team. Try to see ways where others can't see ways, where others try to where others basically do not see anything which any possibility, opportunity in the market. You have to put your fingers on the desk and say, guys, we do things differently. We think there is another way as well, and keep up this revolutionary spirit and try to be a little bit different than the mass, I'd say.
We started the company in Vienna, actually. So kind of all the bureaucratic processes happened in Vienna. But I funded a different company in Lower Austria, so I know what it is like with bureaucratic process and things like that. But that's all over Austria, basically the same. And there are certain hurdles that you have to overcome, which is nothing too bad. So I think important is that you like dig into it, get started, and then all these bureaucratic hurdles sort itself out somehow. For us here in Lower Austria, what really is problematic in the beginning is try to get visibility. Try to get the word out that you're there, that you're operating within this ecosystem of potential fundings, potential partners, things like that. So this is something that I think that is really tricky here in Lower Austria.
When we started around 4.5, 5 years ago already, oh my God, time flies, we approached all these funding organizations in Lower Austria, the banks, the VCs, the capital infrastructure in Lower Austria was not that involved like today, but it was a substantial one, I'd say. And we approached them, and almost all of them were very happy, very helpful. They tried to help us to find the best ways in order to get a capital for your for your endeavors, I'd say. And this was, in my opinion, very, very highly related to this startup spirit from Vienna, because at that time the startup show 2 Minutes to Million started, and people got more interested in the topic startup and growth, and what is this entrepreneurial spirit like. And that was especially the time when all of these funding strategies and funding environment developed. We were quite right at the beginning, and I can tell a story that it worked quite well already 5 years ago.
We wanted to know what our fellow athletes from our youth days were doing right now. So it's hard to find information on sports, especially when it's not like football or skiing in Austria. Everything else is kind of hidden and only for really specialists in their own sports. So we wanted to give those people the chance to tell us where they are in their sports career. And then we found out that a lot of really good athletes in these sports, they struggle with making a living. So if you are a world champion in some of those sports, you cannot even make a living of it. So that's why we wanted to professionalize the media work for all the athletes in the sports that are not kind of football or skiing.
When I was 17 years old, I was in Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, for half a year. Bahrain is a little island near the western shores of the Persian Gulf, and it was a super funny, cool time there, I'd say. Yeah. What I've seen, what I've experienced when I was in food and beverage industry down there was the green coffee. I was so flabbergasted by green coffee. It is coffee, but it is actually not coffee. So it's a completely new category, in my opinion. So I took the coffee from Saudi Arabia to Austria, and my colleague Martin and I started to develop something completely new. And our motivation was, we did not want to make the 100th Coke and the 20th iced tea. And we wanted to create something completely new, a new beverage category, something where people can really see and feel the spirit behind, and can kind of feel that it's not an ordinary energy drink, it is not the next iced tea, it is not a super fancy Coke, which is only a matter of a substantial and artificial ingredients. No, it is something completely new, and this was our motivation right from the beginning.
Startup sectors or areas, I think, are very dependent on which part of my region we're talking about. So in St. Pölten in particular, there is large influence by FH St. Pölten. They do a lot of media, they do a lot of cybersecurity. So naturally, if there's a university there that teaches that sort of stuff, you get startups that work in that way. I think there's a lot more hardware going on in the south of Vienna. Quite a bit of health tech or health related founders in St. Pölten as well, and in Krems. Other than that, I think it's there's still the landscape of entrepreneurs is still too thin to actually talk about clusters. I think there's a little bit of everything going on in all places, which is good on the one hand, because you want that variety of different people, but it's bad on the other hand because it makes it hard to share ideas, share knowledge, and build off that knowledge. It's definitely negative that Lower Austria, in terms of size, is actually quite big. So the cities, most of them are a little bit smaller, like Krems, St. Pölten, Wiener Neustadt, are quite a few kilometers apart, and mobility is not that good. So people don't go from A to B to go to different events, for example. So that's definitely a negative. I think the university scene is pretty good. So there's Fachhochschulen in most parts of the state, and with Vienna in the middle of it, obviously there's a lot of universities and education going on there, and a good startup scene. So that's actually a positive too, because for me it's just a 20-minute train ride to go to Vienna and go to Stammtisch there. But yeah, Vienna also acts sort of as a magnet that sucks everything from the region right around it. So more confidence would be needed probably by the regions farther out to say, well, there's good founders here too, and we like the fact that Vienna is there, but we would also like to build a little scene of our own around it. I think there's a bit of demand in terms of informal startup knowledge. So if you live in Silicon Valley, the chances of you knowing somebody that works for a venture funded company or somebody that works for a very successful startup is so much bigger than in some of the Austrian states, or even in Vienna. Even in Vienna, there's still not as much knowledge from experience as there could be. So I think that's always something that people could improve on. I think it would be really cool if there were more exchange between experienced founders, people that have done it before, and people that would like to start out. That could definitely be improved. I think a lot of the things Austrian startups talk about on a federal level are true for smaller levels too, for cities, and so bureaucracy is still a big deal. I think mindset-wise, there could still be some work done. So I still think very large part of the population doesn't think of entrepreneurship as a career option. So they are somewhat influenced by their grandparents and their parents that are still like have the World War in their mind and think if you have a stable source of income, that's the way to go. Whereas I think that's probably a thing of the past, but it's still like as a whole country, Austria still has to deal with that. So entrepreneurial mindset would be very important for us.